Joining me now, Congressman Randy Neugebauer of Texas. He's chair of the Oversight and Investigations subcommittee, and he has studied at length the law's impacts. Congressman, I read your numbers today. I got to tell you, I'm astonished by this. Let me just give one of your numbers for you here. Dodd-Frank, man hours required to implement this thing, 22.6 million. That is astonishing to me. What is going on here?
Well, Jerry, it is, and it's outrageous. I mean, as you said, it's a 2,300-page bill. It calls for 400 rulemaking opportunities. Just to put that in perspective, there were 16 in Sarbanes-Oxley. Now, what I had my staff do is look at the first 140 pages, or the first 140 rules to come out, and as you said, 22 million man-hours. To put that in perspective, is that it took 20 million man-hours to build the Panama Canal. That connected two bodies of water, and what we're going to connect here is a bunch of lawyers to a bunch of billable hours.
That's exactly what it's going to do. Well, you know, I made the point at the top of the show that in many ways, this is the real Obama jobs creation bill, I think, because you've got thousands of jobs created in Washington. You say maybe as many as, well, a news report says as many as 8,000 jobs. You say another 2,200, maybe up here at Wall Street. This is crazy.
Well, it is crazy, and you know the problem is that regulations are a form of taxation. In other words, they have monetary consequences. As you, I'm sure, aware, there was an article in The Economist here a few weeks ago, and they reported a 2010 study that SBA did showing that regulations cost American businesses almost $10,500 per employee. Now, certainly we may need a little bit of regulation, but I would imagine a lot of those workers would like to have part of that $10,500 for their own wages rather than their employer having to pay that to for compliance of regulations.
You bet. You say that the amount of federal spending already done. You've already paid for it, people. Your taxpayer dollars at work, $1.25 billion implementing this thing. It's not even written. Most of it's not even written. We don't even know what the rules are.
That's right. We're just 1/3 of the way through it right now, Jerry. I think that's the scary part. You know, these are big numbers that you and I are talking about, and we have to understand that that's just 1/3 of the way of this bill. You know, some of these rules, you know, have over 1 million man hours of compliance, and a number of them, like 1.8 million man hours. So, you know, that's ridiculous. And I think one of the things that we think that needs to be happening here, that we're concerned that's not happening, is some kind of cost-benefit analysis done on these rules before they're made final. You know, certainly we need a certain amount of regulation, but what we're not doing is saying, well, what is going to be the ultimate benefit if we do pass this regulation? But more importantly, what does it cost? And making sure the two of those actually make sense.
Well, have you asked the administration for that? Have they said they'd do it, or are they saying we're not going to provide you with that?
Well, in many cases, they say they're doing it, but what we think they're doing it is sometimes after the fact. What we think is an important part of this process is you put together the rule, you do a cost-benefit analysis, then you put those out for comment as well as the rule, so that people have an opportunity not only to respond to the requirements of the rule, but also to refute possibly the fact that they disagree with the cost-benefit analysis, because obviously if you're the one putting out the regulation, you're always going to be the one that shows there's a lot more benefit than there is, you know, to cost. So we need some third-party validation here.
Can't we repeal parts of this? Would it make more sense to take the law back than to try at the margins change it here and there?
Well, Jerry, that would be ultimately the best thing to do. But what we need to do is go through, and one of the things that I have my staff doing is looking at some of these rules that they're coming out, you know, calling the regulators in and asking them to explain that, and encouraging in many cases for them to be sure they're doing that cost-benefit analysis, and not just a cursory one, but a detailed cost-benefit analysis. What we saw, for example, in the CFTC is one of their commissioners the other day said that they had actually committed regulatory malpractice, that they weren't doing a good job of doing cost-benefit analysis, and this is a commissioner that sits on that commission.
Well, you are going to have to share those details with us as you get them, Congressman. I'd love to see that. That would be fascinating. Thanks for coming on tonight. I thought the numbers were fascinating. Great stuff as this Dodd-Frank Leviathan continues. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.